Pope Leo XIV has encouraged European leaders and institutions to reject the Enlightenment idea of separation of church and state. And this is a fantastic thing that he is doing. This is something that we Americans can embrace as well. Roll this up over at culturecrusader.substack.com. You can find the link in the description below. So first off, let's get to what he actually said. Most recently, in an address to the Working Group on Intercultural and Interreligious Dialogue, Pope Leo XIV closed his remarks advising this: European institutions need people who know how to live a healthy secularism, that is, a style of thinking and acting that affirms the value of religion while preserving the distinction, not separation or confusion, from the political sphere. These comments followed an address Pope Leo gave to French political representatives back in August, instructing them to craft laws based on their Catholic faith. He said this: "You are therefore called to strengthen your faith, to deepen your understanding of doctrine, in particular the social doctrine that Jesus taught the world, and to put it into practice in the exercise of your functions and the drafting of laws. Its foundations are essentially in harmony with human nature, the natural law that everyone can recognize, even non-Christians, even non-believers. There is therefore nothing to fear in proposing it and defending it with conviction. It is a doctrine of salvation that aims at the good of every human being, at the building of peaceful, harmonious, prosperous, and reconciled societies." These comments stand in direct contradiction to the Enlightenment idea of separation of church and state that was pushed by John Locke and others. Locke specifically pushed it in his A Letter Concerning Toleration of the Writings, where he wrote this: "I esteem it above all things necessary to distinguish exactly the business of civil government from that of religion, and to settle the just bounds that lie between the one and the other. If this be not done, there can be no end put to the controversies that will be always arising between those that have, or at least pretend to have, on the one side, a concernment for the interests of men's souls, and on the other side, a care of the commonwealth." This idea took hold of the American public in the 1980s following the 5-4 Supreme Court ruling in Stone v. Graham, where the court ruled that the state has no secular legislative purpose to hang the Ten Commandments in public classrooms in Kentucky, and therefore is unconstitutional as violating the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. However, this was not always the case. As an example, Massachusetts actually used taxes to support churches up until 1833. Americans did not actually buy into this idea from John Locke and this Enlightenment idea that there was this distinction between the separation of church and state. In fact, clearly was not the case, given the fact that we had states actually supporting churches with taxes up until 1833. And this has also been longstanding Christian teaching, right? While Pope Leo's comments stand in contradiction to Locke and other Enlightenment leaders, it reflects the long-standing two swords doctrine that is typically credited to Pope Gelasius in his letter Famuli Vestre Pietatis. In the letter, he explains, "For there are two, O Emperor Augustus, by which the world is principally ruled: the sacred authority of pontiffs and the royal power. For you know, O most merciful Son, that although by dignity you preside over the human race, nevertheless you devoutly bow your neck to the leaders of divine matters, and from them you await the causes of your salvation. And you recognize that in partaking of the celestial sacraments and being disposed to them as is appropriate, you must be submitted to the order of religion rather than rule over it. Therefore you know that in these matters you depend on their judgment, not willing to force them to your will." This idea was further explored by St. Thomas Aquinas in his De Regno. He wrote this: "Since the beatitude of heaven is the end of that virtuous life which we live at present, it pertains to the king's office to promote the good life of the multitude in such a way as to make it suitable for the attainment of heavenly happiness. That is to say, he should command those things which lead to the happiness of heaven, and as far as possible, forbid the contrary." Additionally, we have St. Paul discussing this in Romans 13. He writes this: "Let every person be subordinate to the higher authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been established by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority opposes what God has appointed, and those who oppose it will bring judgment upon themselves. For rulers are not a cause of fear to good conduct, but to evil. Do you wish to have no fear of authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive approval from it, for it is a servant of God for your good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for it does not bear the sword without purpose. It is a servant of God to inflict wrath on the evildoer." Pope Leo's remarks signal a call to revisit this traditional framework encouraging leaders to align civil authority with divine principles to foster just, peaceful, and morally grounded societies while navigating the delicate balance between spiritual and temporal power. So absolutely fantastic advice here from Pope Leo to these European leaders, to these French politicians. And I think it is some advice that our own leaders here in the United States of America can follow as well. We have to be courageous. We have to take back this culture. We have to take back our society. And it starts by enacting our Christian values, our Christian morality, the things that God has instructed us to do, and enshrining them in our government. So no longer can we allow unbelievers to rule over us, to dictate what we should be thinking, how we should be behaving. This is unacceptable and it should not be tolerated. And we need to work to take it back. And it starts by following this advice here from Pope Leo, having Christian leaders enact Christian laws for our societies and then enforcing them. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.
Why would you be afraid of the people? Why are you not afraid of God instead of man?